We're just waiting for Simon for those online. Yeah. Are you live streaming?
We are streaming, Chair.
Thank you. Awdurdod, aelodau, croeso I gyfarfod Awdurdod Parc Cenedlaethol. Croeso hefyd I unrhyw aelod o'i cyhoedd sydd yn gwylio. Welcome all to the Ordinary National Park meeting on the 19th of June. Here we just had the AGM. No, that's afterwards. Excuse me a moment. After the ordinary.
I apologise.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Apologies for that. Yes, welcome. And I'm going to go straight into any apologies for absence, please.
Just apologies from Councillor Peter Morgan, Chair.
Thank you. To receive any disclosures of interest by members or officers in respect of any item of business. Rosie, Dr. Plummer, please.
Yes, sorry, going to be a bit of a long list today. Personal, not prejudicial. I'm an NRW board member. I also chair its Protected Areas Committee, which has, of course, particular involvement in the evaluation of the prospects for the designation of a new national park in North East Wales, which is relevant to an agenda item, governance, and also involved as an NRW board member in the selection of Welsh Government appointees to the national parks. So those are relevant to Report 2024 and 21-24. I'm also a trustee of Plant Life and appointed as Director of Plant Life Biodiversity Enhancements Limited. I'm also a Welsh Government appointed Senior Independent Panel Member for Public Appointments, hence particular interest and specific interest in diversity and inclusion in public governance and the quality and integrity of the Welsh Government appointment process, including for bodies such as national parks, and those again are relevant to Report 2024 particularly, and the Audit Wales report on governance. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Plummer. Do I have any other disclosures of interest? No? Okay. Thank you. To confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 1st of May on page 5 in your pack.
Happy to second, Chair.
Councillor Alderman proposed, Councillor, Dr. Plummer has seconded. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. All those, there's nobody against, but I presume we're probably going to abstain. Is that correct?
I'm abstaining as well, Chair, because I was absent.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you. My chair's announcements.
The action log first.
Oh, sorry.
Action log.
Sorry, I've got so many bits. I've got so many bits of paper here. Page 15, please, to note the action log from the previous meeting. Could we have an update on the pay grading? Could we?
It's happening. We've got further training of assessors on tomorrow, actually, there. So, yeah, well, I'm hoping to see the end in sight as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Plummer.
If I could just raise a couple of points. We took to doing an action log, which I think is really helpful. Thank you, and I hope others feel that it's useful for committees. But two sort of generic points. I think it would be useful to avoid acronyms, CJC, AGS. Yep. And some of these now don't have meaningfully indicative timescales. So perhaps we can be a little bit tighter with our discipline.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chair. You know, because, for example, Action 962, when is summer, if not now? I mean, I realise the weather hasn't quite degraded to summer, but you know, there's an example.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Any other comments? Julie James, please.
Action item 971 has been on for the last 2 meetings. This is the health and safety policy to come back to the committee following the suggestions for amendments. Disappointed that it hasn't and that it was published and sent to members yesterday, but I've had a private discussion with Tegrin, and that actually the most concerning aspect that I had raised at a previous NPA has been included in the policy. So I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other action log items that anybody would like to raise? No? Okay. Thank you then. We will move on to my announcements. And I'm going to start. It was with great sadness that we heard of one of our officers' son had been involved in a recent a tragic road accident that proved fatal. Our heart goes out to Andrew, who is the father of Adam Muscat, and his partner Katie Worrell, who lost their lives very recently. And I just wanted to pause for a moment, please, just to reflect and just show our sadness and our So if we could just sit and reflect, please, for a minute. Thank you. Thank you, members. Thank you. Our thoughts and prayers are with both families. Moving on, had quite a busy few weeks actually. I attended the Pembrokeshire Nature Partnership AGM and gave an introductory speech. Ant Rogers from PCC, who heads up the team, they all do a fantastic job. It was a pleasure to introduce the AGM. Attended the Visit Pembrokeshire Tourism Summit. James, our Parc, director, gave a very good speech as well. Some of us went to the study tour at Castle Hendless. Thoroughly enjoyable day. Thanks to Owen and team for hosting us, and to Paul Collier from NRW from the walk round to Kennel Woods, which I hadn't been before, and it's fantastic place. So if you ever get the opportunity to have a wander around there, please do. It's very, very calming and peaceful and absolutely fantastic. I attended the CJC, which was just tweaking the regional transport plan. The National Park for Wales executive meeting. It was Emir Williams' last meeting. He's been the Chief Executive of Eryri. I don't know for how long. I can't remember.
It's been 7-8 years, but he's worked for, I think, about 37 years.
Yes, yeah. So we wish him well in his retirement. They haven't replaced him as yet. They're going through a recruitment process. So I'm hoping, can't remember, was it September time? I think they thought they might have a replacement. So we will know then. We talked about the National Park for Wales budget, the finance, the business plan, 24-26, government business, the new government business impacting on National Park Wales, a new national park, shared strategic posts, Audit Wales report. And since then, I'd like to congratulate Edgar Wynne-Owen, who has now become chair of Eryri, who's replaces Tim Jones, the previous chair. So congratulations to him. We also had a meeting with Julie James. Not you. Overseas.
The other one.
National Parks. We had a 6-month meeting with her. We talked about planning fees and planning generally, supporting tourism and the tourism levy, the Governance Audit Wales report, and funding for the new national parks. There were a couple of other items on the agenda: biodiversity, decarbonisation, collaboration and sustainable farming scheme, but we spent quite longer than we'd anticipated on those things that I mentioned at the beginning. So, but there were some interesting comments coming out of there, which perhaps if anybody wants to hear about those later, I'm happy to do so. I have lots of notes here, but I'm not going to go through them all. I did try and attend the WLGA Royal Forum meeting, but the tech got the better of many of us because they had issues with the translation and there was a different login and it wouldn't work anyway. So there we are. And I had a meeting with Tegrin and Claire Dow and officials from the Friends of Pembrokeshire Coast National Park at Awdurdod Park on Monday, and we had a lovely walk around and discussed. What did we discuss? I've got another piece of paper here. The county show, the Dark Broady National Park authority position, Mulgrove planning application, volunteering. They've also done a map and actually I meant to bring the leaflets. They've done a launch, map and logo, which is going to be launched, it's going to be launched on the 25th of June. And the management plan and also the consultation on temporary caravan and campsites. So that was the most recent. So if anybody wants to know anything more about all of those things, I didn't want to go into too much details because there's quite a lot there, but happy to discuss those during the break or any other time. Thank you. We will move on to item 6 to receive the report of the Development Management Committee, where we deal with that at DM, so we'll pass there. Into that one, the Human Resources Committee held on the 28th of February, page 17. Anybody got any? Dr. Plummer, please.
Nothing to add on that, but happy to answer any questions.
So just having read the minutes there, I mean, it is obviously regrettable when meetings are or become inquisitive because members aren't able to stay, and we know people have busy calendars. But I wonder what steps we might begin to take to sort of arrange matters to reduce that sort of situation. So, for example, and it's something I've suggested before, I think we set our calendar dates for the authority, to my perception, relatively late now. So many bodies are setting their dates further ahead. I wonder whether that can help us, and whether we can perhaps be a bit clearer in identifying start and end times for meetings, and also arranging the encouraging the arrangement of agendas so that with the chair's briefings to accommodate changes. I noted it when I was reading, and I thought it merited just an observation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
That date had been changed, didn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And then there was obviously as councillors, we've got other meetings and things, so it's quite awkward.
I blame the chair.
Yeah, I blame the chair.
I blame the chair. Yes.
There we are. Any other comments on that one? No? Okay. Consider the report of the audit and corporate services review, page 19. Rachel's chair. Has anybody got any comments for Rachel? Come on, please.
Sorry, just one quick one. There was a reference to safeguarding, which there seemed to be a lack of progress on, and report to a future committee, but future committee sounded a bit vague, so I just thought safeguarding being something that is obviously of concern to us. And I think I'd also just like to thank the committee for picking up on the need for near misses and incidents to be reported separately, so that all authority members are properly cited, because it's a really important part of our H&S health and safety. And there also seemed to be, there wasn't a mention of risk appetite in the discussions, but I know we're progressing that. So just 3 little points, having read it. Thank you, Chair.
Right, so the safeguarding one I'll pick up, make sure it doesn't sort of vague action. I'll make a note of that one. Risk appetite we definitely talked about.
Yes,
to be honest, Karen does a fabulous job on these minutes, because they're long committees now. It has changed tremendously in the time that I've been here. It's actually very meaty. Getting through everything is becoming quite very. So that's brevity, I think. But this was the first time we had the new risk appetite in place with the new risk register that Tegan spent a lot of time doing. It'll take time to bed in. We suspect we might want to tweak it. I'll say rather than change it again. We will. But it's far removed from what we had before. So yeah, that's moved forward, but there'll be iterations of that again. The other thing I was going to say, internal audit, the new internal auditors have been here a year. That's the end of their year. We will do a review of that. We said we would take stock with them, so Ted might do something about that in the coming weeks. But the lady, Kerry, that presented, is excellent. So we're really happy with what they're doing, and they're giving us different reports. Again, they've learned a lot, and they reflected in audit about what they've learned, and they changed their audit schedule and things. But we're happy. We'll do a review, but we're having different reports, which is good. So that's the only thing I wanted to say there. And the near minutes, thanks for raising that one, Rosie, because it looks stark when you look at the minutes because the numbers, but that's what we want. We want to see the numbers. So that's changed. Sorry,
I was just going to say, Chair, that there has been another meeting with the Audit and Corporate Services Review Committee on the 15th of May, but those minutes are not yet in.
And of course, we were having the risk register in private.
In private at that meeting.
yes,
time.
it was
Big change.
It was a meaty discussion.
Yeah.
Just a quick one on the safeguarding. I think it is health and safety one. I think we felt that there needs to be a report at the end of the year. So that's, I know we've got an internal safeguarding group meeting, which date had to be changed on the 15th of July. Graham's aware of the need to produce a report. I have to say, thankfully, I don't think there will be much in the report, but it's the principle of reporting.
Yes, thank you.
Any other comments? Thank you. The volunteer forum held on the 24th of March, page 27. Any comments? Okay. The report of the Member Support and Development Committee held on the 17th of April, page 33. Any comments? Yes.
Just one there. I think there was a note in the last paragraph about the draft programme for the Welsh Members' seminars due to be circulated again before summer. And I realise summer hasn't come yet, but yeah.
Summer starts in September.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chief Executive.
Do you know when it is and where it is?
We do.
Yes.
We're currently the programme is currently being translated. Final draft programme. We hope to circulate something to members and to members of the other authorities as well.
Perfect.
Before the summer, before August.
Right.
That's when summer's arriving, is it?
Before Welsh summertime in August.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other comments? No, good. Youth Committee on the 16th of April and the 30th of April. It starts on page 37. Any comments on that one? No? Good. We're getting through these. And the Grants Committee is the final one. On page 41.
Very quick one, Chair. It was a really interesting meeting. I think those who were there would agree, and it allowed us to have a sort of strategic and in-depth discussion. And I think the combination or the clarification of the grants into a grants committee feels a lot more sensible too. But I just think that meeting was particularly interesting. I'm looking at Dr. Hovard, who I know was there too, and Michelle's. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments on that? I was just going to raise one thing because it was an interesting item to read through. On the Sustainable Development Funds, because we're going about sort of decarbonisation primarily, aren't we? So do we measure, when we've given out funds, what the previous sort of energy uses to what it would be after these items have
Get
been
reports. We get reports on all of we get good reports, don't we? Some of them particularly good and detailed.
Okay, thank you. Madeline.
Thank you. That's my point really, sort of long term, how that's going to impact or prevent or help. So that's good to know. Simon.
Sorry, thank you, Chair. Sometimes the authority is requested to consider or endorse or note reports. I just wanted to ask in terms of the terminology for the grants. When we set up the grants committee, the revised terms of reference, are we endorsing the decisions of the grants committee? It doesn't have plenary powers to decide itself, because I declared a prejudicial interest in respect of one of the items regarding the VC gallery. So clearly I will have nothing to do with sort of considering or approving any expenditure or money for that organisation. So I just wanted to see clarification on that point.
Caroline?
No, it's just that the minutes are here for your information. The grants committee has the
powers to decide.
Its own,
and I properly declared a prejudicial interest and left the meeting, so that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Good. Right, we will go on to the agenda proper. The report number 2024, the Audit Wales report on governance. We've been asked to receive the report from Audit Wales on governance, and the Chief Executive, Tegwin Jones, is going to take this item, but we've also got in attendance Eurus Lake and Tim Buckle from Audit Wales for questions and comments. So over to you.
OK, diolch yn fawr i chi. Fel byddech chi'n ymwybodol, mae yn rhan o'r raglen waith archwilio Cymru. Maen nhw'n wneud sawl arolwg. Mae hwn yn arolwg cenedlaethol sydd yn cael trosolwg ar dros y 3 awdurdod Parc Cenedlaethol. Mae o gyfnod 2022-2023 a gweud y gwir, so mae'n eitha hwyr fel y adroddiad. Felly, ydych chi'n nodi falle trwy edrych o gwmpas y stafell hyd yn oed bod lot o byddach wedi newid yn y cyfamser, ond bydden ni lygo pasio ymlaen i Tim ag Euros i roi eu cyflwyniad, a fi'n siŵr bydden nhw'n croesawu unrhyw gwestiynau. Yr unig beth o'n i'n dweud, mae yna drefn gyda nhw ar hyn o bryd lle bod angen ni roi ymateb. Felly mae'r un o'r atodiad yn ymwneud â'n ymateb. Nawr, yn ymateb i hwnna. Felly mae lan i chi benderfynu oed chi'n gytuno gyda'n ymateb i a gweud y gwir fyna. Felly dwi'n croesawu unrhyw newidiadau neu unrhyw beth chi'n teimlo sydd angen i newid ar hwnna, ond na i basio ymlaen i Tim ag Euros.
Thank you, Tegwin. Who would like to go first? Sarah. Thank you. Thank you, Eros. I don't know whether Tim wanted to say anything else before I open it to the membership. Thank you. Julie James, please.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Tim. Julie James speaking. Can you hear me all right? Great. And hi, Eros. We haven't met before. Julie James, Welsh Government member. I spent 10 years with Brecon Beacons National Park Authority, 3 of those as chair, and I joined this authority 7 years ago. Very disappointed in this report. Very, very disappointed. This does not reflect the governance and the excellent member training and support that we receive here at Pembrokeshire Coast National Park Authority. Appreciating it's a helicopter view, but you don't teasel out any examples of good practice that perhaps other parks could follow. For instance, there's no mention of our Member Support and Development Committee. We're the only national park that has such a committee and is focused on the training, induction and support of our members. And I was aghast to find the other 2 parks don't have that sort of committee. I champion both parks through the WLGA Charter. I took them both to advanced charter. This authority was only 2 in the whole of Wales, the other is Cardiff Council, I believe, who still retain that advanced charter. There's no mention in this report of that. Eros, you've just mentioned it in your walkthrough. I'm very disappointed that you've not given credit for that. It's a very rigorous process, not just on member support and training, but actually on the governance structure. It looks into the terms of reference, the strategy, and how accountability is assigned. There's no credit for that at all. And it seems to me that this is not really a governance review. It seems to be a report on the appointment of elected members. Now, at this authority, it's all members. We don't differentiate between Welsh Government appointees and elected. I think probably the majority of our members, elected members around the table here, live or work in the National Park, which I know is different from my 10 years with Brecon Beacons. And it's really not an accurate reflection. I know that you had to look at the 3 parks, but there must have been examples of good practice that you could have teased out. I'm not going to dwell on the Welsh Government appointment process because another one of my colleagues is going to comment on that, given her involvement on the appointments panel for, indeed, Brecon Beacons National Park recent members. But I can tell you every Welsh Government member on this park has completed their Welsh Government appraisals for the last 2 years, had an interview and a session with our chair, who has questioned us closely on our accountability and written up a report, sent to Welsh Government. We've heard zilch, nothing back at all from them, no feedback. So I'm not surprised that you may have received comments that we feel unsupported. Wasn't a comment of mine, don't know, we all completed a questionnaire for you. So really very, very disappointed, and just I'll hand over to other people. Oh, diversity. Yeah, in your report, you only comment on locally elected members and their diversity. I don't know why you've concentrated on that. At the time of your audit, Welsh Government members, 5 females, sorry Gwyn, one male. But now, and you'll see from here, 2/3 of our membership are females. 2/3, yeah, 2/3, 12 members, which is absolutely tremendous. So I think, credit should be given for that. So as I say, in summary, it's not a report on governance from my perspective. A lot of your recommendations are outside of our particular remit, which I know you recognise, and I think I'll leave it there. I've probably spouted on enough, but I would welcome Tim, Eros, anytime if I'm in Cardiff or you're down here, or Carmarthenshire, just to chat this through, because I really don't feel that you've captured what this authority is all about, our culture, and our passion for our park. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Did either Tim or Eros want to come back to Julie before I go to another member? Thank you. I'll go to Dr. Plummer, please.
Thank you. Thank you,
Oh,
Chair.
sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Apologies, I didn't see. No, carry on, Rosie.
Thank you, and thank you very much for providing this report for us. It is interesting. I feel I do regret that it does not take the spot for me at all, being a governance geek in many ways. I absolutely note the point you just made, Iris, about the breadth of evidence commented upon, but that often reflects too the way in which questions are asked, and I would raise some concern about some of the openness and the way that those questions are phrased can really spin the data you get back. And of course it also affects the all the background information that's been assessed, as my colleague reported. So for example, the membership charter and the effectiveness of the arrangements we have here. Given that it presents itself as a report on governance, I am concerned about a generic comment that in several instances, like on page 65, the report refers to elected members representing electoral wards inside and outside the park. There is a nuance there, a really important nuance, because, of course, whilst those are elected members from those constituencies, those areas, they in their park role, they are not representative of those areas. They are acting collectively and independently as members of this authority. So it's a really important nuance of language that I think is one on a governance report we ought to be sensitive to. On the selection of the Welsh Government appointed members, I'm on record vocally, as my colleagues would know, and directly, both in a whole range of fora, including on the cross-party Cenedlaethol committee, scrutinising the Welsh Government Public Appointments Unit for its effectiveness, drawing the attention to the shortcomings that there are, generally and specifically, in the appointment of members to public bodies of all sorts, including specifically to the national parks. There's, to my mind, a disquieting lack of prior consultation with the national parks on the priority of capabilities, attributes and competencies that we need, so that the selection of Welsh Government appointed members is sometimes not sufficiently well cited on that to be as effective for the parks as they need be. And I think there are issues of process there, not only the due process itself, but absolutely in terms of the cohesive support, which you've mentioned, which, and looking at the support from the Welsh Government to the Welsh Government appointed members, I think it is the onboarding, the selection, appointment processes are wanting, and I say I'm on record of that, because it is to the detriment of the strategic expertise and national perspectives you yourselves have highlighted that those appointed members can and should bring to the parks. The training that's provided, and we've all of us recently been subject to, and I could say subject to, training provided by the Welsh Government on governance was, to my mind, not well conceived, constructed or orchestrated. That's not to criticise the officers who found themselves obliged in short order to arrange it, but I think it reflects a lack of awareness, a sad lack of awareness of the Welsh Government, I use my term generically, in what support and advice is needed and what relationships are needed, and indeed how well this park absolutely supports its members in, to my mind, extraordinarily well by comparison with many other public bodies. So I think there are areas in this report which just don't touch on, for my money, the governance needs, including in your recommendation 3, approving accountability. As my colleague has said, we have had no feedback at all from the Welsh Government on the performance reviews we submit. We have little interaction, either collectively or individually. And I challenge you for what metrics of effectiveness in the role, what benchmarks, what criteria you would have in mind, what manner of assessment. And unfortunately, your report makes no recommendations or reference to good models for that. So I could, as my colleague says, go on, but I won't. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would you like to come back, Ellis or Tim, before I go to another member? Okay, thank you. I'm going to go to Simon and then I'm going to go to Madeline.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. I share the concerns and dismay so eloquently expressed by Julie and by Rosie. They're far more eloquent than I could ever be. But what I'm really disappointed in this report is the fundamental lack of one word: democracy. All the elected members here, 12 out of 18, are democratically elected. And there is a process under the 1989 Local Government and Housing Act, in which members find themselves in this room. I mean, we've got in Pembrokeshire, we've got three principal groups: the Conservative group, Labour, and the Independent political group. So each of those has the power to nominate members according to the number of members they have on the constituency, on the constituent body. So, for example, in the Conservative group, we have our chair and we have Councillor George. You make a point of saying they don't live within the park. Members in their very induction are told you are not local members. You are there as a corporate body. Whether you live in the park or not is neither here nor there. You could have more empathy, support, commitment to the principles of the park by living outside it by half a mile. Living within the park doesn't mean to say you actually subscribe to the ethos, the values and the culture of the national park. Let me give you an example. The Labour group. There were 10 members. I'm one of them. Councillor Maureen Bowen has recently joined. Well, neither of us live in the park. Our group is, by the nature of it, a largely urban political group. So we've got none of our 10 members live within the park. And yet I've been connected with the park, well, as an employee and a board member I've been connected with this organisation for 35 years. I've been on the board and came back on in 2022. So I just think you completely miss the principle of democracy. And we've got 20 members who are unaffiliated in Pembrokeshire, which is an unusually large amount. Well, they put their names forward at full council. So the whole theatre of the election at full council democratically elects the members who are unaffiliated, people like Councillor Steve Alderman. They're not in any political groups, and they are elected by the members. So democracy is the absolute fundament of our society in this country, and I feel your complete lack of acknowledgement of the importance of the democratic processes that each member goes through. That's how we find ourselves here. So again, Julie and Rosie picked up many issues of disappointment, and I'll add another, the lack of acknowledgement of the democratic process which we all do submit ourselves to by having the privilege of sitting on this authority. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hancock. Did either of you want to come back on Simon's comments there before I move on? Thank you. I'll move on to Dr. Harwood, please. Thank you. Would you like to reply? Thank you. Councillor Mike James, please.
Diolch yn fawr, Cadeirydd. Diolch am
Yes, of course.
o.
Thank you. Thank you. Struggling with that last bit, quite frankly, but
Yes.
There we are. I'll choose Mike. Sorry to interrupt you.
Na. Diolch yn fawr iawn i pawb. Os gallai dechrau yn y iaith Gymraeg. Iaith y nefoedd. Y iaith dwi'n defnyddio gartre trwy'r amser. Dwi'n credu bod ni yn defnyddio'r iaith Gymraeg yn bwysig iawn. So, i gael hwnna mewn gynta. Dwi'n gwerthfawrogi'n fawr iawn cyfraniad pawb y bore yma. Gobeithio bod chi wedi dysgu na amser bod ni'n siarad ar ran y Parc Cenedlaethol i ni siarad o'r galon. Achos na beth i ni ma am yw edrych ar ôl a wneud yn siŵr bod y Parc Cenedlaethol sydd i Benfro yn cael y pwrpas gorau. Yeah. Diolch yn fawr. I had to get that in. Now to turn to my second language. I've been a member of the Parc Authority for this is my 14th year now. I've been chair of the authority. I was for 4 years. I was chair of National Park Wales for 2 years, and myself and every other member, when we discuss with either WLJ, Welsh Government, or the other parks, we always emphasise how important national parks are in Wales. In Pembrokeshire, it is equally as important. The training we have, the training then and now has always been of extremely high standard. The officers we have delivering training within the national park are fantastic officers. So I have no quibble about that at all. Moving on to local members appointed by local authority with no land in the national park. Well, Simon has explained that in a way that I wouldn't know where to start to explain it. That's why I'm so pleased that everybody has had their say this morning. I'd like to close by Mr. Parsons, our past monitoring officer. He always started his speech by saying, during discussions, we are all reminded that once appointed, the national park is our ward, not the ward at home. We work and learn and discuss national park issues. Once we close the door of that car and enter this building, we are national park members, and that's where all our hearts are. Diolch yn fawr iawn, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mike. Rachel, please, follow that one.
Diolch yn fawr, Cadeirydd. Mae'n anodd dilyn hynny a dweud y gwir. Dwi ddim eisiau ailadrodd popeth sydd wedi cael ei ddweud heddi, mae amser yn mynd ymlaen nawr, ond dwi'n credu beth mae'n dangos yn diwedd yw ymrwymiad yr holl aelodaeth, a dyna pham i ni mor siomedig, achos ni'n cymryd yn gwaith mor difrifol, a dyna'r siom fwyaf i fi ac eraill dwi'n credu. Ni ddim yn gweld ein hunain yn yr adroddiad yma, felly fel arfer, di chi darllen y adroddiad a chwilio a meddwl, oce, digon teg, mae yna gwbl o bethau mae rhaid i ni weithio arno fan hyn, ffain. Ond y tro hwn, dwi'n credu bod un aelod yn gallu adnabod ei hunain yn yr adroddiad. Felly, tra bod chi dweud bod hwn yn seiliedig ar dystiolaeth, mae yna rhywbeth ddim cweit yn taro deuddeg i fi, os ydy pob aelod sydd wedi cymryd rhan yn y cyfweliadau ac yn y blaen ar yr olwg ddim yn gweld ei hunain yn y ddogfen. Felly mae yna gwestiwn fyna i fi, mae yna rhywbeth wedi mynd o le, a gobeithio bod chi'n gallu edrych nôl ar hyn ac edrych ar eich gwaith triongli a'r pethau chi'n siarad eiros ynglyn â tystiolaeth, i ba gwaith dadansoddi wnaethoch chi a oedd e'n ddigon cryf i ddod mas ag adroddiad fel hyn. Pam dwi'n dweud hynny, i ni siomedig yn siarad yn gryf iawn, achos ni'n cymryd eich dogfennau chi o ddifri. So mae hwnna yn pob parchu chi. I ni'n siarad fan hyn heddi o'r galon, achos i ni'n gweld difrifoldeb y sefyllfa. Mae'r pedwerydd a'r gymhelliad yn enwedig yn beth 2 baragraff, ac i fi mae'n gadael yr holl ddogfen yn hongian. Mae mor ddifrifol gallai Llywodraeth Cymru feddwl, OK, mae eisiau ni ail-strwythuro tri Parc Cenedlaethol ac ail-edrych ar ôl Llywodraeth Cymru. A dyna eich bwriad chi? Achos os felly, dwi'n gweld peth yn beryglus iawn, achos dyw'r ystafell hon ddim yn cydnabod yr adroddiad, mae sail yn dystiolaeth. Ond mae'r adroddiad yma yn ddifrifol, o bosib. Mae'r potensial I hwn fod yn ddifrifol. Yn hytrach na bod ni jyst yn rhoi ymateb mewn ac yn gwneud cwpl o bwyntiau gweithredu. Dwi ddim yn darllen y pedwerydd argymhelliad fel yna mae'n ddwy gyda fi. Felly beth yw eich bwriad a'ch prif neges o gyhoeddi'r ddogfen hon?
Iawn.
Diolch.
Do you want to come back,
Chi
Rosie?
di all yr adir na?
Or should I go to Rosie?
Na, un peth yn gyflym. Diolch Euros, a dwi'n cymryd pwynt Madeline hefyd. Dwi'n mysio bod drosodd yn rili amddiffynol fan hyn. Iawn, chwaith. Dwi wedi gweithio I Achwilio Cymru, felly fi'n parchu'r gwaith yn fawr. Ond mae eisiau bod yn ofalus pan I chi'n rhoi argymhellion fan hyn ar bapur, a mae pedwerydd chi newydd ddod nôl fan'na sy'n gwneud I fi fecso bach yn fwy. So dwi'n credu yn ein ymateb ni, gawn ni weld nawr fel ni'n siarad fel aelodaeth, ond I chi wedi rhoi gwahoddiad I ni rhoi ymateb falle bach yn wahanol, nid yn y templed, falle ymateb bach yn wahanol i'r arfer. Achos gall argymhelliad 4 arwain at ryw fath o ail-strwythuro cenedlaethol, a dwi ddim yn credu bod y droddiad sydd gyda chi ar dystiolaeth cweit yn arwain ni i'r paragraff neu ola yna. Falle beth sydd angen y tro hwn yw addendum. Dyna beth byddwn ni'n gofyn yn blaen Euros, yw addendum i'ch adroddiad chi ar sail yr ymatebion ych chi'n cael gan y tri pharc, gan gofio dyn ni wedi eithaf siarad ar tri pharc yn barod. Diolch.
Thank you, and it's a really valid point, because the conversation we had with Julie James, the Minister, was discussed about this. So I think we do need to be really, really careful. And Rosie, please.
And on that point, please, Chair, I'd like to come back, because clearly it's not only for the 3 existing Welsh national parks, but as I'm involved with the potential for the prospective national park, I think there is, to my mind, a very clear steer here towards how the model for that potential 4th park might be constructed, and indeed the implications of that would be for both for funding, for arrangements. So it's a really, the report has the potential to be really very serious, as my colleague has pointed out. And I think on that, Chair, I mean, I don't know how we're going to go forward with looking at our own response to the recommendations. Thank you. But I would want to see the distinctiveness of this particular park's perspectives very clearly fed back and firmly fed back in that. And whilst respecting, as Iris and Tim have said, this is a helicopter view, you're acknowledging that, of course, it's only of 3 national parks at the moment, and they are all very distinctive. And of course, Pembrokeshire is, you could say, is slightly peculiar in that it's a single local authority national park, which makes for perhaps one of the most striking differences between it and the other 2 parks, and indeed the prospective national park. So I would have liked to see in the report more of that distinctiveness, even though it's a helicopter view, at least an articulation of that distinctiveness, because the model doesn't operate the same within those different geographies and linguistic geographies, as Mike has pointed out, really operating almost entirely through the medium of Gymraeg, but also in the combination of local authorities that fall into those national parks. So there's some really important distinctions that just don't feel, as you say, to have come across in this, so we don't feel we've been identified. Thank you.
I was actually going to make a suggestion that we, obviously the first part of the recommendations is to receive note and comment and present any views, and I'd like to think that we've presented quite a number of views here, and but hopefully Tim and yours, hopefully you'll appreciate the passion and very strong feeling by members. I think you've heard that, so that's a good message for you to take away, I think, as well. But obviously the officers have done the organisational response. Do we want to just hold that and perhaps come back, make up something distinctive? Is that something that we can do?
Yeah, I don't know what timescale Awdurdod are working to, but if we have a next authority meeting on the 24th of July, so if I redraft or
reinforce,
clarify, if we can bring it back for your approval at that meeting, which would be where you were going to with this meeting, and then we'll send it on there. I don't know, does that
fit your time scales, Tim? Yours? And the majority of members, or all members,
Yes.
Very much so I'm happy to, let's make it a formal decision. I'm going to propose that. Do I have a seconder? Rachel, all those in favour then, please.
Unanimous.
Unanimous, I think, yes. So can I leave that with you?
Yeah. If anybody's got any particular views they think, I think I would. But
were there any other comments that you wanted to provide to Audit Wales? Otherwise, I think we've probably...
As one of the councillors made us my ward's not within the national parks. My ward is made up of historically a military base, really. And the need for the booty and the facilities the national park supplies for my population is really, desperate. And it's much appreciated that we live in a highly populated area, and the booty, and I said the leisure facilities of the national park is really important. But so I think I have that added responsibility of representing those people who haven't got that on their doorstep and don't live within the national park to represent them even stronger on the national park.
That's why it's really important to have the diverse views that we have and where we live. So thank you for reminding us of that. Thank you. Any other comments then? Otherwise we will say thank you very much, Tim, Euros, and we will be in touch, I think is the saying. But much appreciate your time and effort this morning. Obviously you're happy to continue with the meeting, but I'm sure you've got other things you probably want to do. But thank you very much, and thank you members for that very useful debate and discussion. Okay, thank you. I'm mindful that, what time is it? Is it 12ish? I'm happy to carry on, but if anybody would like a comfort break, would you like to stop now or not?
I think so, because it's a long session.
Should we take 5 minutes?
5 minutes. Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Are we up to go? Are we ready to go?
That's not real now.
Raring to go, Chair.
Raring to go, excellent. Right, thank you. We are back on it. 21-24 draft partnership plan consultation. I'm going to pass over to Michelle Regas, the management plan and marine officer. So over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's lovely to see familiar and new faces around the room and on the screen. So good to see you all in the flesh. I'm normally virtual these days. The purpose of this report is to get sign off for a consultation partnership plan and all the associated materials that go with that. The plan is for consultation to take place between July and September, and a report of consultations and amended draft documents will then come back to members later in the year for approval. There's a lot of material as well as the report itself, and the report is long enough. So I wanted to just say a few words really to try and summarise all that still further. And I should say it's my happy task to be sitting here today, but it's also been my happy task to collate and compile the great ideas and hard work of other officers, some but not all of whom are in the room. So thanks to them. The first question, I suppose, why call this a partnership plan when historically it's been called a management plan, and that's what it's called in the legislation? The answer, I suppose, is because partnership plan better communicates the nature and function of the document. It's a plan for park purposes within the park area. It's not just a plan for the park authority. And the phrase partnership plan sort of entered the lexicon in that I think about half of the current plans that I looked at in England, Wales and Scotland have partnership plan in the title. So we're not sort of thought leaders on this. You may remember at the last plan workshop in April, you had a short update on the special qualities consultation, which was running at that time but about to close. That consultation has now closed, and you can find a summary of it at Annex 1. People's responses to the consultation provided a mine of material, and it shaped the draft partnership plan which you've got in front of you today. We've included quotes at the front end of the document in particular. And Maya Thomas, who's over there, has also looked at people's responses to inform the impact assessments for equality and for Welsh language and for wellbeing of future generations. So people's comments have contributed to what you've got in front of you today. Also in April, some members will have seen, albeit quite briefly, an early draft version of the plan on which was hosted on OneDrive at that point. So thank you everyone for your comments on that. There are three categories of changes we've made since that point. I'd just like to run through them. The first category is changes arising from internal discussions. We've added a foreword from the Chief Executive and an introduction from Next Generation, the youth. There's now a dedicated section on the special qualities of the National Park at section 2, and this includes quotes from the special qualities survey. So, for example, we've got a sample of people's favourite locations, what they consider to be the special qualities, issues of importance to them, and their proposed solutions. Also in that special qualities section, there's now more emphasis on the Welsh language and dialects. We've also put more emphasis on the sensory environment of the National Park. So, for example, open landscapes and seascapes, characteristic soundscapes of the National Park, and dark skies. We've also reflected people's concerns, including recurring concerns like poor water quality and recreational disturbance to wildlife. At section 3, we've got more detail on the state of the park and the challenges to it. We've also included quotes from the special quality survey in that section as well. Those of you who saw the draft in April may recall that the rest of the plan, the policy and the action, was organised around 5 themes. Those 5 themes have now become 4, the 4 C's of the authority's corporate plans. That's conservation, connection, climate and communities. That's streamlined things, and I think it will provide much better read across to the authority's corporate plan. The final addition is an annex of proposed measures for monitoring delivery of the plan. And I think that part, above all, is a work in progress. And I look forward to seeing what responses we get on that when we go out to consultation. The second of the 3 categories of changes are changes arising from the scoping report. So the Cadw and Natural Resources Wales consulted on a scoping report, which is basically how we identify the scope and level of detail of the information that is to be included in the sustainability appraisal and strategic environmental assessment. So the comments from Cadw and Natural Resources Wales were mostly to do with the sustainability appraisal and strategic environmental assessment, but there were some comments that were also relevant to the partnership plan, and in another version of this draft I've included those as track comments. There's a third set of changes arising from the draft initial impact assessments. So there's a number of impact assessments. We've got the sustainability appraisal, which I've just mentioned. We've got equalities, we've got Welsh language and the wellbeing of future generations. We've also got habitat regulations assessment, which we procured externally from a company called Footprint Ecology. One purpose of an impact assessment is to check that there aren't any conflicts with key legislation. And as one would hope with a plan of this nature, the impact assessments essentially give us a warm green light that we can proceed with what's being suggested. Another role of impact assessments, and this is where they really, I think, take things forward, is to help clarify and correct things, resolve any tensions there might be between our suggestions, and to suggest how to broaden the partnership base in terms of delivery, to make proposals more proactive and inclusive and accessible in terms of Welsh language, qualities and wellbeing. So there's a real added value contribution that the impact assessments make. The key suggestions from all the impact assessments are summarised in the covering report, and all of the suggestions have been taken into consideration and marked up as track changes on a version of the plan that you have before you. So if the recommendations agreed today, those non-substantive but very helpful comments will be adopted and go forward in the consultation version. The draft plan Annex 2 is basically text only at the moment, so I'm sorry about the sort of text wall. After today we can begin formatting in earnest for consultation, so that's layouts, images, etc. And the authorities graphics team will be doing that. We're going to be formatting the document as an accessible PDF for consultation, and then move to a fully accessible HTML version for the final plan and documents. And I'm going to make eye contact with Caroline at this point, because I think Caroline is able to show us I won't call it a mock-up because it's a bit more than that, but there is a version that graphics have been working on. The text is incomplete, but you can take just a quick impression as Caroline flicks through. Thank you, Caroline, that's brilliant. So it'll be more colourful than what you've got in front of you today, and graphics will make it unrecognisable in a good way, so grateful for that. Of course, you know, image selection isn't final, but this will give you an idea of what it might look like.
Sums it up really well, doesn't it? Yeah, lovely.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Caroline. So in terms of next steps, we'll finalise everything for public consultation. We'll close the consultation at the end of September, 30th of September, which is a Monday. And to do this, we'll be putting everything up on the authorities' website with a press release, social media prompts every now and again, just to sort of bump it up in terms of people's minds and hopefully responses. The consultation questions we'll host online through Microsoft Forms, which makes it easier for people to complete, I think, and certainly for us to analyse. We've commissioned an easy read version of the consultation, the partnership plan and the questions, so that will go out as well. We've got an online session for community, town and city councils, which will include a segment on the draft partnership plan, and that's provisionally planned for the evening of the 9th of July. We'll also promote the consultation at our presence at the county show and at local country shows. And then the intention is that we bring a report of consultations to members at the NPA meeting on the 23rd of October. So that will include people's comments and officer recommendations on how they should be incorporated. With those suggested changes agreed, and any further comments from members, of course, final versions of all the relevant documents will be prepared for publication. The timeline is quite tight at that point, I think. And we need to do justice to the comments that come in. Hopefully there'll be many of those. So it's possible that we might roll things forward to the next option, which is the NPA meeting on the 11th of December. And that would still allow adopted policy to be in place for 2025, even if the final document is not in a position to be published until early in the new year. Finally, just to summarise the rather convoluted-looking recommendations. Recommendation 1 is essentially seeking delegated authority to incorporate the 3 sets of changes that I've sort of summarised today, plus any further comment from members now. Recommendation 2 is asking for the go-ahead to publish the various materials. So the partnership plan is obviously the main consultation document. We've also got a legal requirement to consult on the sustainability appraisal and strategic and environmental assessment. We also have to consult Natural Resources Wales on the habitat regulations assessment. We'll make that available for public comment as well. And we'll make the Welsh language impact assessment available for comment, and the equality impact assessment and the wellbeing of future generations assessment. And then recommendation 3 is just about publishing other supplementary sort of informational materials as well. So I'm sorry, it's a bit of a convoluted set of recommendations, but hopefully they'll make some sense. So anyway, thank you very much. And through you, Chair, I'm very happy to try and field any questions or comments before members move to the recommendations.
No, thank you very much. And I was also going to commend yourself and the team for such a huge piece of work. And I just love the way you've weaved the public comments into the whole of the document. It makes it very real and personal and intimate. So thank you. I think you've done a sterling job. So please pass on our congratulations and to the rest of the team. Members, can I have your comments? Rosie, and then I'll go to Rachel.
Very much echo what you said, Chair, and I've communicated directly to the team. I mean, it's a fabulous piece of work, and I love the youth, next gen inclusion too. I think the statement is it's well constructed. It's clearly a very well planned military exercise. So thank you, Emma, Michelle, Maya, everybody who contributes to it. It's engaging, as you say. I think fascinating bits like the linguistic nuances, the Tenby back slang, new one on me, and I just think that's great. I have fed back some specific comments on the phrasing of the questions, which I would like to see reformulated slightly, so all the questions were open questions, not yes, no, closed questions, and I think that will be taken on board so that we can encourage that involvement. I agree it's a difficult tightrope. You want feedback, but you don't want essays, so you may have to be a little bit judicious about which are open and which aren't. But I just think we ought to be a little bit more open, a bit more consistent with some of those, and the sort of we welcome any further comments and suggestions, and just a little bit more open in that approach. But all in all, I'd be very happy to recommend this, Chair. I think it's a great piece of work. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Rachel?
Yeah, thank you. Echo that as well. It's a huge piece of work, and I must note there's so much texture, but there's hardly a typo. That's amazing. That's amazing. You say about the photos and where you're on to the next stage of design. The care that's gone into this. That's polished. Well done. A couple of comments from me. Partnership plan in the title. Got to mention that. Love language. I don't know. And I'm with you all the way in your explanation of it, and that's why I'm saying with a bit of nervousness. But I'm thinking, because when I read it through, the whole piece, I'm thinking, yes, which bits of this are ours? And thinking as a board member, what do we count for as a whole organisation for delivering? And that's the bit where I was more shaky then. So I'm thinking, yeah, which bits can we say we've delivered, are going to do, or even if we have done something with somebody else or not? Yeah, so there's a little sprinkle of pragmatism in there for me of just taking care that perhaps it's not this round, but as you really come to the end and nailing some actions, just to make sure they are things we can deliver, even if they are in partnership. It does go quite broad into things, and it's talking about health prescribing, which I'm all for, by the way. but it also makes me slightly nervous because it's not entirely clear what we can do and are going to do within our budget in the next 5 years. And then what we can do, perhaps we hope to do working with others, but also things that are really not with us at all. So yeah, and that the title then really strikes me because it's not one that all our partners are signing up to. It's just not a plan by partners. It's our plan for 5 years, but hoping to work with partners to do so, including Welsh Government and the money we get from them for 5 years. So there's just a little bit of a niggle there for me where we're going on that. The quotes I thought were excellent most of the time, but a few I thought, oh, can these be read that we're endorsing some of them? Or are they our voice? Have we adopted them as ours? So they definitely need to be quotation marks. I think the design can help if they were like speech bubbles down on the, not in the text, but down the side or something different. And there's probably one or two I'd suggest we remove. So I'll just give you one. The Cornwall one.
Yeah.
I don't want to be seen openly criticising Cornwall. I think it's a fabulous place. We all hear that and we use it, right, in our speech, don't we? We know what we're talking about. We talk about traffic management and things. But I'm a bit nervous with a few of those. So there's so many there, it's not going to be a problem just to select a few out. And the Welsh language stuff, it's ace. I've been into Annex 7, it's tremendous. Really good job. The only thing I would say, there's a few examples in there that are really good in that Annex 7, but I'm not sure we've really addressed the substance of them in the report. And what it is, there's so much volume and so many impact assessments. What we try to do is find wording to fit something else in. And I can see, I've traced it back from Annex 7 and you've actually addressed all of them. But there's one, for example, about the Welsh language will be more vibrant and will move with the times and evolve. Reading that in context is very different to what was intended in that Annex 7. It almost reads that the Welsh language is, I don't know, not that at the moment, but will be through our plan. So I feel we've got to watch when we hone a couple of words in sometimes. But I'd be quite happy to, if you want that to sit with you just for half an hour, where there's a few in that Annex 7, I think we could help ourselves, that we haven't quite gone, I say far enough, but the intention of what's come out of that doesn't quite hit the spirit. Another one is the Welsh language and dialects. So the comments back are saying they're two very different things. So you're talking about the English dialect about Tenby, and they're saying, well, do we mean the Welsh language dialects of Crymych? So it's all a bit confused. And I just don't want to sprout it then. You get a whole heap of comments from people who upset people unintentionally. It's just not worth it. So there's just a few bits to tidy up. I think it'll come out in that Welsh language section. And the other one was, I think it's in the heritage section where we haven't mentioned the Cromlechi and the a couple of key sites but the Welsh language related, which we could do. So there's just a few I think we could really nail those and make it even stronger. So happy to sit just to get that tighter before we go out. I think that's it. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Any other comments? Oh, Madeline. Yes. I don't know down. On the screen. Thank you. And I'm not sure why it is when you speak, Madeline, but we have like a buzzy bee here.
Yes,
we have
it's
some
a-
sort of vibration
some
going on
vibrating,
here,
isn't it?
don't we? So, perhaps we can sort that out later, or for another meeting. It's not desperate, but just for I noticed it's bothering you and it's bothering me a bit, but there we are. Anyway, no, it's
No,
not your
it's not
fault.
you,
No,
it's the kid here.
No. I think something's. It's actually stopped now then, so I don't know whether
Claire moved the speaker,
slightly away
so
from
it might
the
have done it.
proximity to that. Good, that's great, thank you. Do I have any other comments? I have a proposer. I was going to take these separately, but if everybody's happy to, yes, Tegwin, go on.
No, just quick response and one suggestion. In terms of the partnership management, I like the partnership, but I always think that the management plan is the plan for the national park. Our bit of it is the corporate plan we produce. Therefore, that would be our bit there. And it's worth noting, just for the record, that as much as I would love our partners to adopt it, but actually there is a Section 62 duty in the 95 Environment Act which says that they have to due regard, have I got the right to?
Yes.
There, we'd like that to be stronger, and it's one of the things, if there is a review of governance, we would push, because I think it's happening in England and there. So
you should add that to your Audit Wales
exactly,
response, please.
there, but so there. The one comment I would make, obviously it's a bit of a dynamic document, and I think we were commenting on it right until the print deadline there. One of the things I think is missing, I don't see the word poverty there. And in view of the Public Services Board having it that as one of its three, so I think that's something we're looking at, whether it probably should catch the consultation there, and it does reflect some of the comments made here today as well there, in that wider sense. So there were a couple of things like that which I think might look slightly different by the time it goes out.
Steve?
That is reflected though, Tegwin, within the the labour profile. Young people working in summer only and not able to
and the average
afford
salary
houses locally, this type of thing. So I think
so in your face as you need it to be. I don't know.
There's an implication there that there is issues there, but certainly for that. But can I just thank you for the South Pembrokeshire dialect? Literally, I've gone back 60 years. They're the words that I had to understand. The lads that were working for father. It was unbelievable. That's I know where it came from.
Yes, we have Rob to thank for that. Yeah.
When I see Rob, I'll thank him again for it.
Thanks, Steve. Rachel.
Diolch. Gai dweud rhywbeth yn Gymraeg am bod Tegwin wedi gwneud y sylw yn hynny. Hapus gyda cadw'r teitl dy partneriaeth, dyna beth yw'r barn o gwmpas y bwrdd, mae hwnna'n ffain, ond rhywbeth wedodd Tegwin wedi taro tamp dy fi. Falle'r dudalen 10 pan di ni, neu 9 a 10 mae'n dweud about this plan. Bydde fe'n syniad falle I gyfeirio at ein cynllun corfforaethol sy'n cael ei wrthyn mlynedd dwi'n credu fe. A hefyd, y cyfrifoldeb sydd ar ein partneriaid ni yn ddeddfwriaethol. Yn credu bydde hwnna'n eitha bwerus I ddweud bod y letrwydd arnyn nhw. Pam na dweud e? Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you. If there are no other comments on it, we do have to... Oh, Claire.
Sorry, Chair, I was just going to add, I think one of the things that I love the long list of partnerships because I think partnership adds value at every opportunity. I think one of the things we could strengthen is naming us our partners. So we mentioned the PSB, but I think there's a few of our strategic partners building on that duty that we need to probably be explicit about. I'm thinking specifically around the Health Board and Mid West Wales Fire, but there's probably others who should be named on the document. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no more comments now, you can. We've just arranged a bit of an extension to the end of the week. So if there's any comments that you might want to put forward that you might think about after the meeting, if you could get them to Michelle by the end of the week, we'd be really grateful.
Yeah, it's not. Am I? No problem.
Are we all right? Okay. All right. So we will move to the recommendations. I was going to take them individually, but I'm going to take them all together then, if everybody's happy. I've had a proposed by Rosie, a seconder by Sam. So all those in favour, please raise your hand. I think that's unanimous. Yeah, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Good. We move on to report number 2224, the annual report from the Standards Committee, and Mike Kent, our monitoring officer, will be taking this report. Thank you, Mike.
Yes, thank you, members. Just to recap, it's now statutory duty to prepare an annual report to the authority on how the committee's functions have been discharged. Excuse me, and provide an overview of the conduct matters generally within the authority. I've set out in the report the terms of reference for the Standards Committee, which should be familiar, A to I. I don't see any point in me going through them unless you particularly want to. The membership of the Standards Committee at the moment is made up of 2 local authority members, Dr. Simon Hancock and Mike James, 1 Welsh Government appointed member, Rosie Plummer, and 4 independent members, one of whom, Vicky Tomlinson, is shortly to retire as an independent member, and we are now advertising for a replacement, which was mentioned earlier in this meeting. So there will be a need to call the appointments panel to deal with that. There's going to be training. Member training on the Code of Conduct took place on the 21st of June, almost a year ago, after the MPA meeting on that day. It was commented then that members thought it would be useful if future training could be arranged, which took the form of a question and answer session with some worked examples to go through. We did that on 15th of November 23, and I think it went pretty well. And I think in future we'll adopt that format for future training. And we're going to include members of the Standards Committee in that training as well, which was done last time. Complaints, you'll recall that there was a new complaints procedure adopted by the MPA last September, which follows the recommended procedure proposed by the Ombudsman. There's now a 2-part test, and the Ombudsman can then refer the matter back to our Standards Committee to investigate if he feels there has been a breach, or the adjudication panel for Wales if it's a more serious allegation, or as we hope will happen, that there's nothing to be investigated and that no subsequent action is necessary. Excuse me. Current complaints, in the past year to the end of March, there are 18 complaints recorded by the authority, 3 related to the the Newport Sounds when we acquired the beach that was anticipated. None were escalated to me at that time in the old complaints. And I'm not aware of any complaints which were escalated to the Ombudsman at that time. So I think we're pretty safe and nothing's going to happen by now. There were some complaints made to Gary Mepham about the parking on the beach, etc., but they were dealt with adequately at that stage. So I think now it's all running pretty well, and we'll know more about that. Other complaints related primarily to planning matters. Two were escalated to me in the period, and both have been completed back in March, and so far no response has been received either from the complainants or from the Ombudsman. In one of the cases, the complainant complained that the report was taking too long to be produced and that he had not been kept adequately informed. The Ombudsman suggested that we compensate the complainant for the delay in £50, sum of £50, and impose an extended time limit within which the full report should be completed. There were mitigating circumstances. We were waiting for a report from an outside consultant, but we thought the nominal amount and not want to fall out with the Ombudsman at that point, was probably as well to buy the bullet and pay the money. And I'm pleased to report that the report was completed within the time, but well within the time that was allowed. And as I've said so far, we've had no response either from the complainant or from the Ombudsman. There was one complaint alleging a breach of the Code of Conduct, which was escalated to the Public Service Ombudsman, but that was investigated by us at the suggestion of the Ombudsman, and no breach was identified, and therefore no action was taken. Trends, other than the point I just mentioned, no other allegations of breaches of the Code of Conduct. We must be vigilant to make sure that we do attend training, members attend training, because obviously if there were issues and the Ombudsman was involved, one question that will be asked is whether members have attended training to confirm that they have done. And obviously any ideas of training that you want us to put forward, then we will do that. For example, we are surely to put a training session on for the Standards Committee about what we would do in the event that a matter was referred back to the committee for consideration. So any ideas you think would be helpful, then do let Caroline and me know. Excuse me. Local resolution protocol. This was necessary to be instigated on one occasion during the year. It's the first time we've had to do it, and it worked well, I think, and matters moved on, and everything's now been resolved. Dispensations. There's a general dispensation that all members have, and I extended that to Councillor Vanessa Thomas when she joined the rejoined the authority, and I'll also offer the dispensation to Councillor George and Councillor Bowen, now they've joined us. You'll recall that we adopted unacceptable actions by complainants policy. We've had a couple of close shaves, but so far we haven't had to actually instigate it, but hopefully that will continue to be the case. Turning now to the annual report of the Ombudsman, they report there are 11% fewer complaints about local authorities and 4% fewer about code of conduct issues, which is encouraging. There was an increase in complaints about equality and respect and a decrease in cases concerning community and town councils. You'll recall that over the last few years, there's a huge increase in complaints about community and town councils. That seems to be abating now, which is good news, obviously. In the year 22-23, there were 8 referrals to Standards Committee and 4 to the adjudication panels, and a copy of the Ombudsman's report can be found if you look on their website. And finally, the Independent Remuneration Panel for Wales, they published their first annual report in February, and this contained a determination at number 5, which states, I've set out there, that we can adopt an hourly rate, and that it's been decided that the full and half day rates will remain unchanged. This is for independent members. That's it. So the recommendation is that the report is noted. Any questions? Happy to answer them.
Councillor Hancock, please.
Thank you very much indeed, Chair. Much obliged. I think the very low volume of work coming the way of the Standards Committee is a reflection of both the thoroughness of our governance and the excellence on the excellence
Add
of
to the
training.
report.
And I just wanted to thank Mr. Mike Kent for his sterling support, and happy to move the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosie.
Yes, a well-made point to add to our
Growing
governance.
tally of
It's
evidence.
a very well-made point in that context. Yes, I like I say, I'm on the standards committee. I've seen the report. I'm content with it, and definitely thanks to our calm and capable MO. As I'm also really keen, really pleased that we now have unacceptable actions by complainants policy in our toolkit, because there were instances in the past where our officers were not, in my view, sufficiently protected from the sort of unreasonable manner of complainants in some cases, and I think having that policy is really important for us. One hopes that having the policy is a deterrent of itself, and we won't need to use it. But thank you very much for making sure that's there too.
Thank you. Do I have any more comments? Because I have.
Happy to second it, of course.
I think Mike James has already seconded.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, thank you, Mike, for all the work you do quietly, I think, in the year. It's testament to this. Thank you. I'm just going to say one idea potentially, back to the governance training point, because I'm Chair Di, I remember you telling me that you've been on some good training with Welsh Government about governance with David Richards, if you recall in the year.
The leaders,
who's now a consultant. It might be a good thing for us to invite somebody of that calibre, start about training, just to have an insight into what is good governance in their eyes. And he's got vast experience, and he does a good training course. So let's do it. We've always got things to learn, and perhaps be ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Or somebody similar. Doesn't got to be that person. But
he
you
was
did mention that
he was really interesting. He was really, really interesting. Good. I've had a proposer and a seconder that this be noted. All those in favour, please raise their hand. Excellent. That's unanimous. Thank you. Good. Thank you, Mike. The report number 2324, the annual report on meeting Welsh language standards, and that's over to you, Caroline, who's our Democratic Services Manager. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. As members will be aware, the authority is required to produce an annual report demonstrating its compliance with the Welsh language as set out in its compliance notice, and a copy of that report is before you. Dr. Plummer has provided me with some suggestions to reword the executive summary to give it a better tone, and I'm more than happy to take those on board. She also noted the website figures at paragraph 3.5.
Yes, I saw those.
I'm sure other members will note those. Unfortunately, the figures are taken from Google Analytics. Officers have looked into the anomaly, and there's really no clear reason for them. And the figures are the figures. I don't think there's any way of digging deeper into them.
No, I think we should just make a comment to that effect.
Yeah.
Simply articulate them.
Yeah. I've no further updates to bring you on any other matters within the report, but I'm happy to try and answer any questions.
Thank you, Caroline. Any comments, please? Rosie?
Just that generic one, thank you. And I did feedback to our incredibly capable Democratic Services Manager, for a really good workman-like report, workwoman-like, perhaps I should say, workperson-like report. Whoa, what should I say? But I just felt that the comment on the tone is that I don't feel it should be that we are sort of complying with the Welsh language standards and that's what's driving our Welsh, but that we are doing it and the Welsh language standards form the framework that ensure we're kind of up to snuff. So it's just changing that, not sort of being whipped by the Welsh language standards, but actually being that's the way we're going already. So it's just a tonal thing. And yes, the web data is so odd. It just I feel it needed just a word of, well, we know this is odd, so we're investigating something. So just a little bit clearing that. And we have had some we are increasing our ability, and I think I commend the chair and our chairs of committees who do make every effort to use some Welsh in the meetings, and I think that's great, and thank you for the encouragement, that we are getting from those Welsh-speaking members, because all of you have made a difference to me personally and my willingness and confidence. So thank you on that, and I think that's a really important thing. And just there was a note in the minutes of the Audit and Corporate Services Committee on Welsh language impact assessments being separate from others, whether or not. It feels to me, in my view, that they should be integrated, that they then better capture the assessments and the sort of potential intersectionality. But I'm just sort of lobbing that in there because it came up in relation to the Welsh language report. But I think it's a great report, and thank you very much. Happy to recommend it.
Rachel, diolch fawr, a diolch Caroline. Does dim llawer o sylwadau gyda fi, byddwch chi'n dal chi i wybod. Yn paragraff 3.5.1, dwi'n dadlen y Saesneg, sorry Caroline, mae'n dweud y peer, so nevertheless, web page views, a peer to have increased. Dwi'n credu os dwi'n jyst yn tynnu'r gair y peer, byddai hwnna'n helpu falle. A brawddeg ar ôl y tabl i ddweud, byddwn ni'n edrych i mewn i hyn dros y flwyddyn nesaf. A dwi'n credu ni wedi cael cwpl o flynyddoedd nawr, ble dyn ni ddim yn sicr o'r ystadegau. Dwi ddim yn flwyddyn gyntaf, dyn ni wedi dweud, dyn ni ddim yn hapus gyda'r ystadegau. Felly byddai hwnna'n helpu. Tynnu y peer a brawddeg o danog, byddwn ni'n trio gwneud rhywbeth. Deall bod yn anodd, ond byddwn ni'n trio gwneud rhywbeth. Wedyn grantiau, paragraff 3.8.1. Dwi'n gwybod ein bod ni'n gwneud hyn, a dyna pham, dwi jyst yn argymell ein bod ni'n rhoi llinell arall i mewn sy'n sôn am y tegwch i ni'n rhoi i bob cais, dim ots os maen nhw'n dod mewn yn y Gymraeg neu'r Saesneg. Weithiau dyn ni'n mynd tuag at bod y dogfennaeth yn y Gymraeg a'r Saesneg, ond dim hynny'r pwynt mewn gwirionedd, bod pobl yn cael yr un tegwch, dim ots pa iaith maen nhw'n defnyddio. Felly jyst i ddweud ein bod ni'n gwneud pob ymdrech i sicrhau bod ni'n delio pob cais mewn ffordd hafal. Gret. Dan polisïau wedyn, yr asesiadau traweffaith yma, so paragraff 4 i gyd, oes modd i ni ychwanegu tipyn yn fwy, achos dwi'n teimlo i bod ni wedi gwneud llawer eleni, a dyn ni wedi bod yn gweithio. Chi'n meddwl am y todiad saith Mair Thomas yn yr eitem blaenorol. Dyn ni'n tipyn o waith, felly hoffwn ni falle roi, o'n gweud enghraifft neu astudiaeth achos i mewn sy'n dangos ble ni wir wedi trio gwneud mwy fan hyn, a dangos bod wedi newid ein penderfyniadau ni, neu wedi newid ein polisi ni. Dyna'r pwynt eto, nid gwneud yr asesiad, ond bod e'n newid ein ffordd o feddwl ac yn cryfhau ein polisïau neu'n cynlluniau ni. Felly, dwi'n credu bod enghreifftiau gyda ni, a byddai'n dda i ni ychwanegu hynny. A wedyn, pwynt ola dwi'n credu, yn gyffredinol yn adran 5, pan o'n i'n darllen, o'n i'n meddwl, ble mae'r ystadegau? Felly o'n i'n siarad am faint o swyddi dyn ni wedi hysbysebu, faint o fforddiant dyn ni wedi gwneud. Ac wrth gwrs mae'n dod yn adran nesaf, neu adran 7, sori, dan cadw regod. A dyna ble mae'r ystadegau i gyd yn y diwedd. Felly oes modd, jyst mewn ambell fan yn adran 5, croesgyfeirio'r paragraffau neu roi'r ffigurau fyna yn lle'r diwedd. Achos dyna ble chi'n siarad am y swyddi neu siarad am y fforddiant. Mae'n iawn i'r adran 7 yna fod yn denau, jyst dim ots, allwch chi just dweud, dyn ni yn recordio'r pethau yma a rhoi rest o bopeth i chi'n monitro. Ond dim roi'r ystadegau rili bwysig reit ar y diwedd, anffodus. A ni'n falch i weld faint i ni wedi rhoi swyddi gyda'r iaith Gymraeg yn hanfodol. Dwi ddim wedi gweld rheini, falle dwi wedi gweld swyddi sy'n dod ato ni, felly roedd hynny'n hyfryd i weld. A wedyn yr unig beth arall o'n i'n meddwl, falle gallen nhw ofyn amdano yw cynllun gweithredu, lle tabl bach ar y diwedd neu sôn bod gyda chi dabl, chi'n cael monitro. So os oes unrhyw beth yn y ddogfen sy'n wan gyda ni neu rhywbeth lle dyn ni ddim yn cydymffurfio, dylen ni falle wedyn dweud dros y flwyddyn nesaf, dyn ni'n mynd i wella yn y 3 maes yma er enghraifft. So un ar ystadegau'r wefan, bydde un mwy o fforddiant i staff, bydde un arall. So 2 neu 3 beth lle ni'n mynd i wella, mae hwnna wastod yn mynd lawr yn dda. Ond diolch yn fawr. Diolch.
Thank you, Rachel. Diolch, Mike.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Gadeirydd. Rhywbeth bach iawn. Rhif 381. Fi'n darllen na fel Saesneg. The authority administers the Sustainable Development Fund cyn y coma, a dylsyn ni roed now the Grants Committee. Neu oedi'r y papur ma cyn iddo fe cael ei enw yn Grants Committee. A dwi'n neud sens, Caroline?
Oh. Yes.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
I don't think, sorry, we've changed the fund's name. It's the committee's name we've changed.
Yes.
Now still the Sustainable Development Fund.
Correct.
Dwi'n gwybod bod Caroline yn berffaith.
Yeah.
Mae fe'n dangos nawr.
Caroline, sorry.
Good. Are we...
Shows you ready. Shows you ready.
Have we any more comments or questions? Okay, thank you. Do I have a proposer? Rachel and seconder Rosie? Or Gwyn? Gwyn, I'm happy as a seconder. Fix it up a bit. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's unanimous. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you, Caroline. Are we all happy just to finish the last two before lunch?
Yes.
Do we think we can get there?
Yes.
Good, okay. Location of meetings after the Green Room development. And again, this is back to Caroline, our Democratic Services Manager. Over to you, Caroline, please.
Thank you, Chair. So the report before you sets out the very limited options there are for hosting meetings of the Authority and the Development Management Committee while this room is being redeveloped. The choice seems to be between holding meetings at Awdurdod Parc or holding meetings online, with the recommendation at the end of the paper that meetings are held online. Obviously, the decision is for members.
Thank you. Julie?
Very happy with the report. Thank you very much. I move the recommendation.
Okay,
Happily second.
Oh, right, okay. Does anybody have any other views first? No? Okay, well, we've had a proposer and a seconder. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. But I did say to Tegrin, I think that's unanimous. I did say to Tegrin, I think it's important that we do get together.
Oh, yes. Yes. I'm sure.
We don't know how long this building is going to be out of action, and especially with a couple of new ones as well. Madeline. Thank you, Madeline. And you're not buzzing anymore. I think Claire moved the volume or the thing there, so you're fine. So thank you. Thank you for that. And the final one, report slide 24, electronic papers. Back over to you, Caroline.
Thank you very much, Chair. So the report sets out the costs associated with providing members with paper copies and seeks your views on whether this provision should continue. I know that a number of members would find it difficult to manage without paper copies, and I therefore just put the options before you for your consideration. It has been suggested to me that training and support would be useful, which could include such things as display properly, how to sit properly at a computer so that you'll display screen equipment assessments and how to mark up PDFs and things to assist you with
using virtual copies.
Virtual copies, yes. And irrespective of your decision today, I will arrange a session which will include a one-to-one support for all matters IT.
Thank you very much.
Good.
Thank you.
Excellent.
That's very kind. Julie.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to speak to this briefly. Clearly, I'm scattering. I have to declare an interest. I am one of the 9. But thank you very much. I will obviously take part in the training. With the decision taken on the earlier paper about the green room, clearly there'll be some savings in terms of travel expenses, which may well offset the cost of the paper and so on. But if we want members to be well informed and to have read all the papers and to contribute, then I think we, wearing my old hat of the chair of MSDC, we really have to accommodate members and their needs, regardless of the fact that I'm really pleased to see the new members, I'm surrounded by them, are used to electronic. I am, but I do prefer paper copies. And I think the other consideration is health and well-being, musculoskeletal problems, eyesight and the like of it, which we won't go into people's personal circumstances. So if I may, I'd like to table an alternate recommendation that we agree that all new members who join the authority after September 24 undertake to receive their papers in electronic form. So they are given notice of that when they decide whether or not to join the Parc. But that existing members should continue to receive paper copies so long as they wish, whilst being encouraged to move to electronic papers, with the training you've mentioned, or voluntarily paying the cost, which I don't mind doing at all. So that would be my alternates, which I can read out again.
Okay, thank you. Rosie.
A couple of points there. I mean, cost and carbon are 2 separate considerations, obviously, in this. And I note that the cost is given as the cost of the paper and postage, but actually its officer time in preparing, etc., is probably massively outweighs and increases that cost. I note my right honourable comments. I would suggest that instead we should be taking the view that electronic copies are the default, but that as we do for any ability, disability, capability issue, we will consider, of course, on a case-by-case basis, a need. So provide, but not just as a, sorry, I don't mean to demean it, but not on a basis of preference, but on a basis of a case made for it being an appropriate need. And whether that's done for new members, I feel that we shouldn't actually discriminate. It should simply be, here's our default is electronic. You can make a case should there be a need to make a case. That would be my. No, you may have to vote on that recommendation.
Entirely happy with that. We had the discussion in the
car.
Yeah. I said to Rosie, if you want to object and go against me, I will.
But she'll have to walk.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I'm also mindful that in PCC we're allocated 2 devices, and especially now we're going to go online. So if we only do have 1 device at home, which is what you need to be seen, how else will you get that information? Because you need the agenda at the same time, don't you? So if you haven't got 2, can we expect members to have an alternative device as well? So I think that needs to be considered. I mean, financially, etc., because we don't want to discriminate anybody who may not be able to afford that. So we've got to think about that. So that sort of comes into the paper copy as well. So I don't know whether there's, I mean, it's a bit of a cost to start off with, but it may be a saving is to provide, I don't know, 3 or 4 iPads or laptops that can be given to those while they're doing the duty of the National Park. So just concerned about that. Rachel?
Yeah, I'm just going to say I'll back you up on that because those are my examples. I just want to commit now, but I can wait for you to finish. It's fine. But
yeah,
that's
I think
where my mind was going.
Yeah, that's just what I was thinking of. So happy with what you're suggesting. I think it's
just picking up your point, which is a very good one, Chair, on the, as it were, screen size or number, and it's size on our now use a 36-inch screen, so I can have more if I need to on one screen. But I wonder whether there's scope for what you might call the equivalent of a salary sacrifice scheme, as it were, or whatever. so that we can, so that individuals can, if needs be supported to have a larger screen size. And again, that's part of devices, because if you're working at home, then actually even multiple little devices may not cut it. You're not seated appropriately, but a bigger screen size and display may make the difference. So I think we need to be flexible, as you say, in our approach for virtual meetings.
Yeah, thank you. So I think with the decision we already made to be at home, when it was COVID, it was different. It came upon us, didn't it? We're making a bit more of a controlled decision this time. So members are going to be sitting for hours at home, and we don't really know what people's setup is at home. Contemporary, that is, and I know my always speaks about. So is it appropriate? So maybe it does bring in something to make sure things are right. And the two things I was going to just to have a little bit of a why I'm the way I am with this, which is very different to the way I operate in any other capacity. So I'm very conscious of it, because it would not be my normal way of working. So as a chair, particularly, and with audit, there's a mass of papers. I haven't got two screens at home, whereas if I was working, and I chair a lot of different meetings, but without those two screens, when you've got such a meeting, you can have all that a PDF permanently there, and perhaps you just got your agenda printed as well, just in case there's something happening. And then Teams, you've got to have a full screen of Teams at home. Absolutely. A lot of members. I've got people from Audit Wales on there. There's a lot of members. You keep an eye on the hands, so you have to have that open as well. So the Teams screens need to be there. So that's why I've always kept the paper, because actually I cannot see everything on the screen. So there's an element where I need two screens at this point. I'm thinking, okay, it's not the 120 cost. I'm happy to do that, but actually I'm going to have to buy a screen. So there is something, I think, in the kit. And the other thing I would say, because of safety and cyber security, it's actually really tricky for me, because all of the different laptops I've brought on today to check based on this paper, I can't be in more than one Outlook account at the same day. So when I am in Pembrokeshire's Outlook, that's it. I'm not contactable across anything else. That's the one that one day. If I'm in that kit, the things conflict otherwise. So I think, yeah, I'm with you a little bit. The time might have come that if we were issued kit, it would be safer anyway. It would only have the Pembrokeshire email in there and all our papers. And that might be a better way to go with new members going forward. And it's not something you keep, it's not yours to keep. Once your time is up, you know, it's sent back, isn't it? But I think that would be safer all round, because when you think we're using our own laptops, all sorts of things going on. So a few things are coming together for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, probably the option of us responding to the needs of members, irrespective whether they're paper or IT, is the better one in terms of that. As you said, you know, for the duration, I would just highlight our budgets are tight. There, but you know, you make valid points about cybersecurity. If I could have my way, we'd go back to slate. It would be much safer, but clearly not an option. But yeah, I think you know, it's inherent in us to support staff and members to undertake their role in whichever way.
So I just wondered how we're going to. Sorry, Gwen.
I was going to say, I agree totally with that. It's down to different circumstances. We haven't got a large number of people, only 18. But remember, I think the interesting remark was that 9 out of those 18 had been using paper. I'm one of them. But certainly, you know, the number is small enough for us to analyse and support each individually.
Can I just make a comment?
Yes.
I think we've got to be careful not to have a situation where somebody asks if they can have a paper copy, and then we're stuck in a situation where we've got to decide whether their reason is justified or not. I think with a few people that may ask for it, are we not better just to say, yes, if you want them, you can have them?
I mean, in PCC, again, if you do want them printed, I think you pay £25 for a full council.
Yeah. I think it's a situation arising where we're arguing about something.
Is it? Oh, it's gone up.
Yeah, that's what I was told.
But then I'm mindful that, you know, if you're limited in income or whatever, you know, that £25 could be quite a lot of money to you. So we don't want to prevent people coming on the board if there's an issue.
It's quite a reasonable adjustment, though, isn't it? Effectively.
Well, it could be, but that's the problem, isn't it? We don't want a situation where somebody says, well, you allow them to have papers, but not me.
We've never had that.
If I'm honest, I'm not unduly concerned, because we are used to dealing with staff making reasonable adjustments.
Yes.
This should be the same.
Exactly.
You know, if for some reason there are, you know, we think oh, that's not right. You know, an example I'd give, you know, if we have purchased IT equipment for somebody, then suddenly we get a request for paper, I think our answer would be no.
Yes.
Isn't it? You can't have your bacon, yeah, there. So, but, you know, if there's an issue, we'll just have to go through whatever channels, but...
I just wonder how we're going to work this.
Leave it to you.
Caroline.
Could I just say that option A, the status quo is maintained. Physical copies are provided to members who request them. That's how we operate currently.
Or can we say the default is for electronic papers? Yes. However, we would give due consideration to any special needs to enable members to perform their function.
That feels right.
Yeah, so we've moved to the default. Yes. So 9 people need to write an email.
That might prevent them. But also there is that element, isn't there, that if now we're going to go fully online for the next year, that, okay, I don't want papers, I'm happy to have it on my iPad or laptop, but I only have the one, so therefore is the...
I need ICT advice in order to what might be the best mechanism.
Yes.
It would have...
You know,
we will have to do it, isn't it?
You choose to have the screen rather than the papers, but you're going, you know, it works both ways, doesn't it? So I think we need to consider that as well.
And we have in the past, Chair, we have provided IT equipment for members on request.
That's great. Okay, so are we happy with that?
Yes.
Yes. I probably need a proposer, do I? And Rosie, do I have a seconder? Julie, all those in favour?
She just wants to sit at lunch.
And anybody against? Anybody abstaining?
Madeline's got. Oh, Madeline and Sarah.
Was that Madeline abstaining?
No, late vote.
Favour.
Late.
Sorry, I
thought right.
Yeah, that's okay, thank you. We've got one more. That's it. That's the end of that meeting. Thank you. Just bear with me for 1 minute. I've also been given a little reminder here to members of the Welsh Government training on effective financial governance taking place online tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. So if you haven't replied, would you please do so?
Too short notice.
Shame I missed
It's been in the
that.
diary for a while, hasn't it?
Yeah. Sorry, it's just too short notice.
That's fine. Perhaps you might like to tell that. And before you leave, apologies, we've got one more meeting to do, the Development Management Committee.